Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Thursday, the 9th of March. Good to have you aboard. We are, of course, a Blue Wire podcast, always presented by Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. Everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 is brought to us by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine. If you've been in an accident, doesn't matter what kind, car accident, motorcycle, boat, slip and fall, 800-747-3733. That's the number you call. After you call 911, you immediately get an attorney on the phone. And my guys at Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, Mark Anidjar, Glenn Levine, Ellie Anidjar, they've supported me from before day number one. Those are the guys that you can count on to make sure that you get right. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. Good to have you here with us. However you're listening to the show, be it on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeart. Make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. I appreciate it. I love you a long time. The Heat last night, the Heat lose 104-100 to Cleveland. Didn't see the game. We'll get to that. Didn't see the game. I was at a concert last night. I was at Hard Rock Live. I saw Greta Van Fleet. This was maybe the first Heat game this year that I haven't seen. I mean, I saw the highlights. I know everything that took place, but I did not see the game. Normally, I'll record the game. I'll watch it when I get home. I got home really late last night. You know, you get a couple drinks in you. I wasn't about to sit on the ZASLOW Mansion family room couch and watch the game. So I happened to see who won, excuse me, when I got home, and I was like, all right, you know, sucks. They lost. I was watching a little bit of the game at the Hard Rock Live. Before I went in, I was watching some of the first quarter. They got some, now it's not a sports book, but they have like a bar sports book kind of room right next to the entrance of the Hard Rock Live. That is an awesome place to watch a game. Speaking of which, you got the ACC tournament that's going on. Canes men's hoops team, they're in action today. That's at noon today, so very likely by the time you're listening to this, it's the future when you're listening. You know what happened. You know if the Canes won today in the quarterfinals against Wake Forest. I don't know as I'm recording this podcast, but you probably know. You're in the future. I'm in the past. Great place to watch the NCAA tournament games there at that Hard Rock Live, you know, sports betting room, I guess. Everyone's going to be betting on their phone and watching the games there in what looks like a sports book room. Really, really cool venue, it would appear, to watch the game. So I went to Hard Rock Live last night. I saw Greta Van Fleet. Awesome show. So much fun. Had seats in the seats, general admission standing room in the pit. So I was right up close there. And it was my first time seeing Greta Van Fleet. Great show. Yes, they have a very Led Zeppelin vibe to them. And I've told you this before. I've talked about this with our friend Jessica Blaylock when she's on the show. We have very similar tastes in music. She loves Greta Van Fleet also. And I've told her and I've told you guys, you know, when Greta Van Fleet kind of hit the scene in their first call, I was like, it's a Led Zeppelin ripoff. They sound just like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, so? I mean, I wish more bands sounded just like Led Zeppelin. That's the problem. There aren't more bands that are sounding like Led Zeppelin. How is that a bad thing? It's not a very good thing. So there's a very Led Zeppelin vibe to them. Really interesting mix in the crowd. You had old, you had young. Thought that was interesting. But what is just like an old school rock and roll vibe to Greta Van Fleet. Loved it. Really fun show. If you were there last night, I think you probably agree. I think you probably loved it. My first time seeing them, really great. That's why I didn't see the Heat last night. We're going to talk to our pal ESPN's Israel Gutierrez. We're going to have him on today, and we'll talk NBA with him. We'll talk Heat. He was at the Heat game last night. I want to talk to him about John Morant, obviously. We'll talk about the big MVP discourse going on right now, Nikola Jokic. We'll talk about Lamar Jackson. We spent a lot of time on ZASLOW Show 2.0 yesterday, so if you missed that, you could always go back in the archives and check out past shows, ZASLOW Show 2.0. That's right. Just go back and listen to earlier shows of the week. No problem there. Go ahead and do that. So anyway, we're going to talk to Israel coming up on the show in a little bit. The Heat last night, though, the Heat lose 104-100, and I think we're at a place where if you're a Heat fan, you have to be resigned to the fact they're going to be a play-in team. They are staring play-in right in the face. They were number 6 for a little bit. Then New York got hot. New York won 9 in a row. New York jumped them. And we were expecting Brooklyn to fall off. Now, Brooklyn, it looked like they were going to fall off. Now they've won 3 in a row. But even if they do slide a little bit here late in the season, Miami has 15 games remaining. Brooklyn has, Brooklyn has 17 games remaining, I believe. Even if Brooklyn slides off a little bit, it's not going to be enough for Miami to catch them. The Heat are 4 games back now after last night's loss. The Heat are 4 back in the loss column. That's what's important now is the loss column. I know the standings say 3 games. That's because they played an uneven amount of games. Brooklyn has 28 losses. The Heat have 32. The Heat, you can't make up losses. So that's why you got to look at the loss column now. So Brooklyn is ahead of Miami by 4 games. So is New York, for that matter, at the number 5 spot. The Heat have 17 games remaining. 15 games remaining. Incredibly difficult to make up 4 games with 15 remaining. I mean, essentially, in these final, 15 games? Now, you got to remember, the Heat only 3 over the regular season. They're only 35 and 32, only 3 games over. If the Heat were to go 10-5 the rest of the way, which might be asking a lot. They're only 3 over the whole season. You want them to go 5 over the final 15. If the Heat go 10-5 in the final 15 games, in order to catch Brooklyn, Brooklyn has 17 games remaining. In order to catch Brooklyn, you're going to need them to go 8-10 the rest of the way. If Miami goes 10-5, you need Brooklyn to go 8-10. I don't know. I feel like that's asking a lot. The Heat are not going to catch them. I don't know if Brooklyn's going to go 8-10. They might. But I definitely don't know that the Heat are going to go 10-5 the rest of the way. Here's what's coming up next for the Heat. So we know they finish out this very disappointing but very difficult homestand. They're going to try and get just their second win on this homestand. They're 1-3 so far. Losses to Philly, New York, and now Cleveland. I mean, the Heat could realistically finish this homestand 1-4. Terrible. I'm sorry. It's a 6-game homestand. They won both those games. I think it was 5. 6-game homestand. So right now they're 2-3. They could finish 2-4 on this 6-game homestand. And Cleveland creates a unique problem for Miami because Cleveland is a great defensive team. Heat are good defensively also. Cleveland's a great defensive team, and the Heat are a poor offensive team. So the only way that the way for teams to beat teams like Cleveland is to play fast. The Heat don't play fast. The Heat play very slow. The Heat are a poor offensive team, and Cleveland's probably a bad matchup for Miami, and I think you saw a little bit of that last night. So the Heat lose last night, even though they had a chance to win with just seconds remaining. The Heat down by 3 after the missed free throw. You get a real good look from Max Strus. He can't convert. Free throw on the other end. Boom, 104-100. Game over. Like I said, Max Strus, he took the final shot there. The Heat were led last night by Jimmy Butler. Flew to LA, came back. I don't have a problem with that. You especially don't have a problem with it when Jimmy has 28 points. He's 8 of 14 from the floor and 12 of 15 from the free throw line. So I don't want to hear anything about Jimmy traveling to go honor his friend and then making it back on the day off. He was awesome last night. Max Strus, though, he had just 9 points last night. He was 2 of 8 from 3, including the shot that would have tied the game. How did Jimmy feel about Strus taking the shot to potentially tie it?
Yeah, I take that. Look, Max shooting at 3, Tyler shooting at 3, whoever. Get the shooters open, knowing that they're not going to come off of my body anyways. And next time he will make that, That's what Max does for us. Stretches the floor, make big shots, whether it's in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, overtime, or the first quarter, now I think about it. We taking that from our guy.
So it was a great look. It is what it is. Max Strus is not a good three-point shooter. Like, you may think it's crazy that I'm saying that. Max Strus is a below-average three-point shooter. Last year was the anomaly for Max Strus. There's no other way to look. I mean, this year, Max Strus from 3 this year is 33.5%. It's below average. It's not good. Last year, he was 41%. The year before that, he was 33.8%. for most of Max Strus's career, he's been a below-average three-point shooter. You can't complain about the look that they got last night. It is what it is. And you wind up losing to a really good team who now you face tomorrow night again. But the Heat fan, the overall point here is the Heat fan needs to be resigned to the fact they are going to be a play-in team. I already told you yesterday, I think that's a fun scenario. The way that this season is gone, you got some excitement there in the building for what, won't be a one and done. If the Heat are the 7th seed, you have 2 chances to win 1. And if the Heat are 7 as opposed to 8, you'll have 2 chances at home to win 1. But the Heat are going to be a play-in team. As we're getting only 15 remaining, 4 back of Brooklyn. It is what it is at this point. The Panthers are not playing tonight. Panthers have an extra day off, I guess, if you will, tomorrow night. They got the Chicago Blackhawks at FLA Live Arena. The Panthers, same spot. The Heat are going to make the playoffs, but the Panthers, every single game feels like a playoff game. Otherwise, the NBA last night, we're going to get to Israel Gutierrez in a moment here. Otherwise, in the NBA last night, you had the big story is Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant's played a few games now with Phoenix. They've all been on the road. Kevin Durant was supposed to make his home debut last night for the Phoenix Suns. And in the layup line, in the warm-up line, his ankle kind of gives out on him. It looked really bad. And he didn't slip, just his ankle kind of gives out. And he's going to get MRIs today. Didn't play last night. The Suns, behind a big performance from Devin Booker, they ended up beating Oklahoma City by 31. But, I don't know, Durant, that looked kind of bad. Luka Doncic, by the way, suffered an injury last night. I think it was a hamstring. He's getting tests done today. He said afterward it doesn't look good. And you got Zion Williamson. There's no timetable for him to return either. We just found out. So you got some pretty big injuries there. Most notably, Doncic. The Mavericks lost again. They never win with Kyrie Irving. The Pelicans beat them last night by 7. But Doncic suffers an injury, which apparently doesn't look good. And most notably, Durant. We're all kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with him, as you want to see what it looks like in the playoffs. Durant with Phoenix. And I don't know. That looked bad last night. Also, Steven Adams. Steven Adams is out for the rest of the year. I'm not even sure what the injury was there. This Grizzly team, the whole John Morant situation, they lost, what's his name, Brandon Clark for the year. Now Steven Adams. Their entire season has completely imploded. And by the way, we'll get to this in Big Deal, Not a Big Deal. Draymond Green threw haymakers at Dylan Brooks yesterday of the Memphis Grizzlies. Like I said, we'll get to that in Big Deal, Not a Big Deal. So that's the big news in the NBA last night is Kevin Durant. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the day today and see what kind of news there is. John Morant, by the way, the Grizzlies announced he's missed the last 2 games like the team originally said. He's now going to miss at least another 4 games. Where is the softest commissioner in sports, Adam Silver? Has Adam Silver said anything about one of their high-profile players in this country, in our society, flashing guns, which may have been on the team plane, flashing guns in a public setting? Has the softest commissioner in sports said anything yet? Players run this league. It's embarrassing. Nowhere to be found. Adam Silver. We got to ask Israel Gutierrez about that. All right. Like I said, I'm pumped up about the Canes today. Maybe I shouldn't be pumped up because you could be listening to this later on. Maybe the Canes lost today. You're like, oh, ZASLOW, you're so stupid. You're pumped up. You don't even know the Canes are about to lose. I hope not. That's coming up in a little bit. Before we get to our pal Israel Gutierrez, I got to tell you guys about our newest sponsor, Broward Meat and Fish. I was at Broward Meat and Fish Plus this weekend, their newest location in Margate. Grand opening. This, I'm telling you, it's your new favorite supermarket. That's right, you're in for a treat now. Listen up if you love good food. We all want the best quality when we're prepping our next meal. Broward Meat and Fish has everything you're looking for. Not just meat and fish. You have the best selection of meat and fish at Broward Meat and Fish, but we're talking produce, a full selection of groceries, frozen foods, freshly prepared hot food. They'll make your boar's head sub right there with all the deli meats and cheeses, wine, so much more. Broward Meat and Fish, they got your Johnny Cuba there. That's right. How about the Johnny Cuba picante sauce with the finest Jamaican peppers? pick up a 6-pack of Johnny Cuba as well. I had no idea when I was walking into Broward Meat and Fish for the first time. I'm walking into this massive supermarket. That's what we're talking about, Broward Meat and Fish. I told a couple people recently, I was like, I got a new sponsor on the show, Broward Meat and Fish. Like, yo, I love that place. I was like, yeah, it's amazing, right? BrowardMeatandFish.com. Find the location nearest you, including their newest location, grand opening this past weekend, was in Margate. Broward Meat and Fish, they've specialized in serving the Caribbean and Latin community here in South Florida for almost 30 years. They offer all the products that remind all of us where we come from. The shelves are stocked with international brands from Jamaica and Haiti and Mexico and Brazil and Colombia and Argentina, Peru. You're getting the flavor you love at Broward Meat and Fish. BrowardMeatandFish.com. Find the location nearest you.